Chapter 27. Writer, not a fighter. Thomas had spent nearly 3 years in the room with Warren. At least it seemed like 3 years, but because the place had no windows, it could have been anything up to 5. His brain felt heavy, and he'd had 2 nosebleeds, which left him wondering if he should just agree with everything in the hope the session might end before his head deflated altogether. Warren was waiting for an answer to a question Thomas couldn't remember being asked, so he nodded. "So you don't want to harm others," Warren said, "either by murdering them or with your writing." "That's right." "All right, so let me ask you the question again. Why do you persist in fighting this?" "Because I'm a writer, and it's what I do." "But you have just said that you don't want to hurt others." "Yes, it's quite the dilemma, isn't it?" "And you're adamant you can't improve." "Shit is shit, Warren, regardless of how it might be shat." "Again, you're making excuses, so I'll ask again. Why are you fighting this?" Thomas thought and said, "All right, well, because Murchison says I must." "Yes," Warren said, making more notes. "I imagine there's a wealth of self-interest on his part that you continue to fight." "Self-interest? Rubbish! Murchison's helping me." "I'm sure he is, but at the same time, you're helping him." "I don't see how. I have no money left." "I'd imagine the profile of your case alone offers massive exposure." "But so does flashing my genitals at Eurovision. Look, Murchison helps me. All right, he cares. I know he does. He wants me to win." "He wants you to win, Thomas, because he doesn't want to lose." Thomas glared at him. "Why do you insist on undermining the few people in my life who care?" "I'm not. I care, and I'm trying to help you." "No, you're not. One minute you're berating Dr. Marjorie, and the next it's Murchison. And then you wax lyrical about the media and publishing industry as though they're the ones misunderstood in all of this. Jesus, no wonder I haven't mentioned Janice." "Janice?" "Yes." "Who's Janice?" Thomas leant forward. "Warren," he said pointedly, "there's no way on this earth, or any other for that matter, that I am bringing Janice into this septic, turgid excuse for therapy." Warren put his pen upon his notepad and leant forward also. "Right, I'm going to be frank with you, Thomas. The fact is that you're much like a murderer who's indignant at having his murderous character traits penalised." "A murderer?" "Yes." Blimey, that's a bit harsh." "Is it? Murderers murder because they're murderers, Thomas. It's what they do. It's who they are. Murderers cause death, pain and suffering in the same way other people build, well, model railways, for example." "What, with balsa wood and superglue?" "What? No, look, I'm not speaking literally, Thomas. I'm speaking metaphorically." "Which I'm presuming is another word for bollocks." "Look, Thomas, what I'm saying is that your argument for continuing to write is no different to murderers' argument for continuing to murder. It's what they do. You're a writer. It's what you do, regardless of the pain and suffering you cause." "Have you treated many murderers?" "What? Have any of your patients been murderers?" "That's irrelevant, Thomas. What I'm saying is, I'd love to write a book about a murderer, but I can't because I haven't murdered anyone, so I'd be guessing most of it. A bit like punctuation. I'd certainly be guessing the messy bits. I once upset a punnet of frozen raspberries, which went everywhere, and reminded me of lumpy entrails for some reason." "Thomas, I could always get real entrails from a butcher, I suppose, and then fling them around in my bedroom or stuff them into freezer bags so I could stab them with knitting needles." "Thomas, please." "Not that it would help, considering my writing's so shit. Perhaps I should write a book about shit." "Thomas, how would you feel if someone died from reading your books?" "That's a dreadful thing to say." "Good. At least that suggests you're not a murderer." "Are you going to write that down?" "I think you should write that down." "You are, however, a dreadful writer." Thomas looked pointedly at his watch. "Well, I must say that's brilliant, Warren. After wasting 3 years of my life listening to all this bollocks, you're telling me what I told you at the very beginning of it." "You're not listening." "That's probably because my ears are bleeding." I'm saying that psychoenteritis is not some publishing industry's invention to have you eliminated, but instead a clinical disorder which manifests as your appalling attempts at writing. What are you saying? I'm saying, Thomas, that psychoenteritis hasn't arisen from some conspiracy against you. I still don't know what you mean. Warren sighed and looked at his hands. I mean, Thomas, there's a high chance that your writing is a reflection of you having a diseased mind. Moreover, your assertions that it arises from a conspiracy suggests a clinical neuroticism. And by clinical neuroticism, do you mean that my assertions are correct? No. Thomas looked sideways at him. Are you saying that psychoenteritis is real? I am, yes. Thomas felt the words viscerally. Really? Yes. After everything I've said? Because of everything you've said. And that's your professional opinion, is it? It is, yes. And I don't suppose there's any chance your professional opinion is as shit as my writing? No. I see. Thomas looked at the floor. Right. Well, there it is. I'm mad. Warren stood and went to his desk, presumably to check his pot plant. As it's a brand new illness, it will take some time to insert into our diagnostic criteria. There'll be some meetings to ascertain its position in the range of psychiatric disorders. I'm suspecting it will go somewhere between pathological narcissistic delusion and chronic paranoid neuroticism. Thomas stared at him. But how can I be delusional if I agree with everyone that I'm shit? More often than not, Thomas, agreeing with others is a form of unconscious pacifism, a sort of double delusion arising from a desire to relinquish responsibility for socially inappropriate behaviours. I don't have socially inappropriate behaviours. I beg to differ. What about the raft of restraining orders taken out against you? It's not a raft, Warren. More a sort of, floating log. You've had 4 in the last 6 months, he said, jotting something down on another piece of paper. No, that's not true. 2 of those were downgraded harassments. Nevertheless, on that alone you are considered a danger to the public. Harassing women is also a manifestation of delusion, that is, an inability to accept rejection. I can accept rejection, Thomas cried. I've had a lifetime of it. Your reaction to Dr. Marjorie suggests otherwise. You're wrong about her. And what's more, I'm not delusional, all right? You are. You agree that you're a dreadful writer in order to avoid having to accept any responsibility for being one. But I do accept responsibility. No, you don't, he said, returning with the paper. You shun it by agreeing with the rest of the world that you're dreadful. In fact, you've gone even further. He sat again and flicked back through notes. You said, and I quote, that there are 3 types of dreadful writer in this world. Those who are shit but do something about it, those who are shit but don't believe themselves to be, and you. Thomas stared at him. Yes, and then I said that's because I know that I'm shit. Exactly. Admitting you're shit relinquishes responsibility to do something about it. But I'm not relinquishing anything. I'm just admitting that I'm shit at writing. Why are you so determined to make this complicated? As a psychiatrist, I'm concerned not only with my patients' well-being, but the well-being of the population at large. But I don't understand, cried Thomas. If I agree with everyone, how can that imply I'm delusional? I agree because I know I'm shit. I agree that I'm shit, full stop. I'm shit, it's simple. Warren leant forwards and clasped his hands as though an enormous penis was about to be unleashed from his trousers. Very well. Then I will ask again, why are you fighting this? Thomas stared at him and swallowed at nothing. I'll tell you why, said Warren. It's because that although you insist on agreeing that you're shit, a deep part of you does not. You say you agree, and you believe it, but at a primal level, you don't believe it at all. You believe your writing has merit. Somewhere within your writing's convoluted redundancies and appalling use of apostrophes, you're certain there's something of worth. Your agreement, therefore, is delusional. I'm not fucking delusional, Warren, you complete bastard! Which Warren jotted down. Again, your use of obscenities indicates a proximity to the problem. You utter bastard! Don't fight me, Thomas. I'm only here to help. He offered the paper. Oh, believe me, Thomas said, snatching it. If I was fighting you, you'd be the one with 2 freaking nosebleeds. Jesus, Harold Christ! Any other sane human being would realise this whole thing is madness. Exactly. Thomas looked at the paper. What the hell is this? Your certificate. Certificate? Yes. For what? For psychoenteritis. A provisional diagnosis at least, before I'm able to make it official. You can frame it if you like. I know I will. You should be proud. It's not every day you're proven to be 1 in 7 billion. Mind you, it's not every day that I discover a new illness either. Thomas stood, took a deep breath, and kneed Warren in the bollocks so hard that were an enormous penis imminent in release, it would no longer be in any state to do so. At least, not without medical attention first. But because they were currently in a hospital, Thomas stepped over the writhing man, confident he could leave it at that.